Hello, everyone. This is Jacob Friedenberg with Axios Systems. Before we get started, I'd like to wait just another minute or two for others to join. We still have people logging on, and we have a very high volume of attendees, so please bear with us for just a few more moments. While we get everything started, we encourage our viewers to join in on the conversation by Twitter. The hashtag is ITSMTalk. You can also follow us on Twitter at Axios_systems. Our corporate blog is at www.blog.axiossystems.com. Throughout the presentation, we will also post several polling questions. Please take a minute to give us your answers. And at the end of today's presentation, we will take time to answer your questions. Since we've planned to fill the full hour, any questions we don't get to answer will be placed on our blog and on Twitter. Okay, let's get started. I want to thank everyone again for joining us today. We are excited to present the first exclusive webinar of a three-part series. Today's webcast is the IDLE V3 Chief Architect's Practical Guide to Leveraging Social Media for IT Operations. We have two very special guests with us today, Sharon Taylor, the President of Aspect Group, and Jason Hopwood, a Senior Member and IDLE Master with Axios Systems. First, it's my pleasure to introduce Sharon Taylor. Sharon is considered the foremost thought leader in the ITSM space, and she is a fellow in the highest standing of the Institute of Service Management. As an internationally renowned author and speaker for the ITSM industry, she has authored and co-authored more than 20 books on the topic of service management and is the recipient of the prestigious ITSM Lifetime Achievement Award. You can follow her on Twitter at ITSMQueen. Next, we're fortunate to have Jason Hopwood with us today. As I mentioned, Jason is a senior member of the Axios Systems in North America. He has over 15 years of experience in the ITSM industry, and as an experienced IDLE master, Jason has helped some of the largest commercial and government organizations in the world redefine how they do IT. You can follow him on Twitter. His user is at Jason Hopwood. So now I'd like to pass control over to Sharon Taylor. Sharon, please take it away.
Thanks, Jacob. I'd just like to welcome all of the attendees today. I'm really pleased to be here with yourself and Jason to talk about social media and IT operations. It's certainly becoming a really hot topic today. So we're here to talk about social media and ITSM. And the presentation that we're going to go through today is based on a white paper that's called, Is ITSM Socially Acceptable? And so it's got pieces of information from that white paper, which will be available from Axios in July. So I encourage everyone to get a hold of that white paper when it comes out, because there's a lot more detailed information than we'll be covering in the hour that we have today. So basically, this is a look at the topics we're going to cover, the agenda for today. We're hoping to impart some guidance to people around the practicality of using social media for IT operations. We're going to look at what that is in context. What is social media in this particular context? How is it grown in the industry? And what are the implications of that to us as service management providers? How is business using social media today? Because that gives us a clue in terms of what we have to be prepared to support and provide to our business customers. What are some of the more common uses of social media that we're seeing today with respect to the kinds of processes that we're used to using in traditional ways, like incident, problem, and knowledge management? What are some of the challenges and risks to service management and to service management providers in terms of supporting businesses using social media and using social media ourselves in our day-to-day delivery of services? Then I hope to provide some expert advice around how to meet those challenges and risks. And then we're going to have Jason give us a bit of information and do a bit of a demonstration around how Axios is using social media in its Assist product, and then we're going to have some time for Q&A from our attendees today. So that's what we're going to cover briefly in the short hour that we have. So looking at social media in context, what is it? If you take 10 people and say, define social media, you're probably going to get a variety of answers because social media means different things to different people. Basically we have a list of things on the screen in front of you here that are considered officially to be part of social media, but things that we don't always equate with social media when we think of it. It's a way for us to share opinions, a way for us to share facts, our perceptions. We use it as a personal tool. We use it in business. And basically, it's a way for connecting with others. When we think of social media, we have a tendency sometimes to think of the more commonly recognized tools within social media, things like Facebook and chat sites and some social networking tools. But there's really a lot more to it than that. If you think about the fact that microblogs like Twitter, etc., instant messaging, podcasts, photo and video sharing, collaboration tools like SharePoint as an example, and some of the larger enterprise social networking tools, they're all a part of what we consider social media to be, especially from an ITSM context when we think about needing to support that kind of an environment for our business customers and for leveraging that ourselves. So there's a lot of things that we need to take into consideration as opposed to just at first glance what we would define social media to be. So it's a multifaceted thing with numerous uses, and we're going to take a look at some of those uses today. One of the things that I think I'd like the attendees today to keep in the back of their minds as we're going through the information is, as service management providers, we have a lot to think about with respect to social media and what its impact is to us, both from supporting our business and using it ourselves. Things like, there's a whole lot more to consider, as an ITSM provider. Is it the right thing for us to be using? What happens if our customers are not using social media and are not familiar with it, but we are using it in the tools and the platforms we deliver services to our customers with? What are some of the costs and risks and realities of using social media as a business or as an IT tool or both? So I just want you to keep those kinds of questions in the back of your mind, and hopefully as we go through the presentation today, we'll be able to answer some of those and to address some of the issues that are emerging in our industry with respect to the use of social media as an ITSM provider or from an ITSM perspective. So on to a little bit of fact about the growth of social media. Now, social media has been around for some time, but the explosive growth has been happening only just within the past few years. And if we look at some of the facts that we've got shown here on the screen today, it gives us an idea of how rapid that growth has become in the short time that these kinds of tools have been around. Now, in IT terms, 3 to 5 years is actually quite a long time, but when you consider that from a business cycle perspective, it isn't that long in terms of the transformational changes that social media can bring into a business environment or into an IT environment, certainly from the perspective of needing to support that. But if you have a look at some of these facts, and some of the ones that I found more interesting, things like 53% of employers research potential job candidates online using public social networks. That was unheard of in not too many years ago. 43% of companies are using blogging as a means of marketing. We're seeing definite shifts and trends in the industry, especially around marketing budgets and where the dollars are actually going these days for businesses to promote their products and services publicly. And a lot of that shift is taking place toward the use of social media. So things like the growth of social media have to factor into our strategy for the management of services. We need to take that into account. The fact that the business adoption rate for the use of social media is also exploding exponentially, means that we can expect, if we haven't already, many of us,